Welcome. My name is Christine Kendrick. I work for the City of Portland Bureau of Planning Sustainability Smart City PDX program. Today, I'll be presenting with my colleague to provide an overview of how the City of Portland is using data and equity strategies to maintain transparency about the use of American Rescue Plan funds. The American Rescue Plan Act is a $1.9 trillion economic stimulus bill passed by the United States Congress and signed into law by President Biden on March 11th, 2021. Through several programs, the American Rescue Plan aims to provide direct relief and speed up the recovery from the economic and health effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some examples of these programs include direct stimulus payments, extended unemployment benefits, food aid, and the child tax credit. Through the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds program, the city was allocated $208 million. The City of Portland received the funding in two different phases, with 50% coming in the spring of 2021. Portland City Council allocated $67 million for 29 projects in round one and $37 million for program delivery and city services. Round two project proposals were recently submitted in February of 2022. As a collaboration between the Office of Management and Finance, the Office of Equity and Human Rights, and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, Smart City PDX, a data and equity strategies team was created as part of a larger delivery team to provide support for rescue plan project implementation. Specifically, the Data and Equity Strategies team is focused on creating and implementing a proactive data management strategy, providing guidance and tools to ensure that projects meet equity outcomes, and ensuring that the City of Portland's equity and data values are embedded in the reporting measures so we can meet US Treasury compliance, but also be transparent and accountable on project progress throughout the duration of these funds. Some of the ways that we will be delivering on these goals are through creating and implementing reporting guidance, data collection support to project teams, and a project team can be both city staff and external partners like community-based organizations, data management infrastructure, accessible data analysis and visualization products so that we can support storytelling about impacts, and open and accessible reporting data sets. We're going to share a little bit more detail on the work done to date on some of these tools and strategies and how we're planning the elements that are still being built. So the first piece we built was the city reporting guide. The US Treasury released the first version of compliance and reporting guidance for the state and local fiscal recovery funds in August of 2021. These were complex in reporting, but still vague at times. And there was a large focus on equity outcomes and data disaggregation. And in fact, these guidance on reporting from US Treasury keeps getting updated. We recently got a new version just today. So we've taken this guidance from US Treasury and created a City of Portland reporting guide. The idea is to translate this information into a more digestible and applied format for project teams and make sure we're also outlining how our reporting guidelines are going to align with our City of Portland and local community values for local storytelling as well. We want to be able to tell the stories of impacts of these funds and who we are working with to implement these new services and projects. The guide covers how we are going to meet all of the federal grant requirements and also clearly communicate about what the federal grant requirements are. It focuses on transparency. We want to build trust by sharing how funds and projects are being implemented throughout the duration of the grant and increase access to data. We want to communicate clear data collection responsibilities upfront to all partners. We want to apply the City of Portland's privacy and information protection principles so that transparency does not come at the cost of privacy. And we want to celebrate the work of all of our different project partners, but also be transparent about our limitations along the way. And last, of course, is accountability. We want to demonstrate how the projects are really connected back to priorities that we've heard from the community and outcomes. The next piece that we built are uniform data standards. So we are likely to receive tens of thousands or more data points across 29 round one projects and more projects to come in round 2. So uniform data standards that all project teams, contractors, and subrecipients are required to use is going to mean more streamlined implementation, proactive and clear expectations for how to collect the data, and more efficient data management and analysis. And when we were designing these standards and thinking about the reporting guidance as well, we had to consider the balance of our need to collect information so that we can assess our equity outcomes and how well we are actually serving impacted communities, the workload that we know many of our partners are experiencing while delivering all these necessary COVID-19 response services, and their capacity for data collection, plus past experiences that communities have communicated to us that they've had with extractive data collection efforts in order to receive services. The standards are informed by the Office of Equity and Human Rights, Oregon Health Authority, Race, Ethnicity, Language, and Disability, or Real D standards, and other regional resources. This next slide shows an example of what our minimum data standard for race and ethnicity looks like. We also have an optional comprehensive race and ethnicity data standard that's available if a project needs more detailed data to inform their outputs or connect to their equity outcome or for future project planning as well. So with this standard, all project teams, contractors, and subrecipients should use the exact wording and exact same wording for the question and the categories. And it's also important that our method for data collection is for the individual to self-identify and self-report. So another piece to helping design data collection is that we have also been investing time with each project team to talk through several elements of the City of Portland's COVID-19 response equity toolkit. So we talk with each team to understand who are the communities that will receive the relief. How is a project prioritizing those most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic as identified by local disparities data? How will the communities benefit? How will the project team measure the intended impact? And how will the project team evaluate the measures? Are there any challenges that the teams might face to collect disaggregated measures by race, ethnicity, income, gender, geographic location, or other elements identified in their data standards? So we invest time to have these conversations and go through each of these questions. And this allows us to then work with the project team and partners to make recommendations on how to update certain specific measures or maybe update their outcome to really make sure that the data collected is going to be able to tie back to the intended impacts. The end result is that each project team has a clear and final table of project-specific measures. These measures align with our reporting guide and our data standards. The team and any partners working on the team know clearly what they are responsible for. And this can really also be a tool to help add to contracts with community-based organizations or other partners, or shared out in other ways. So again, those expectations and the purpose and reason for the data are clearly communicated up front. Next, I'm going to hand it off to my colleague to talk about the rest of our presentation.
Thanks, Christine. Hi, my name is Vishal Bakshi. Pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the American Rescue Plan Act Local Fiscal Recovery Funds Data and Reporting Analyst in the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability. I'll start by talking about how we're approaching data management. So in order to support project teams with data accuracy and data management efficiency, we have provided them with a data submission guide, which clearly explains how, when, and where to submit data. We've given data file examples for several scenarios of different end recipients. We've outlined data reviews that are a project manager's responsibility. And we have a data review process with our team internally, as well as project teams, to make sure that we are capturing the correct data. We also have defined specific workflows, including where and how data is stored and cleaned before it's loaded into the database, and who has access to that data and why they have access given their role on the delivery team. Next slide, please. The rescue plan data management involves data cleaning, database storage, which is the rescue plan database, and then finally data exploration, which will allow us to have some impactful data sharing. The data cleaning process is aligning the raw project data that the teams are collecting with the database schema. And then we load the correctly structured and formatted project data into the rescue plan database. The rescue plan database has a database schema, which considers initial query and data analysis needs in order to tell the stories of impact that the rescue plan has on Portland. The database will also be connected to Open Data Web Services, which will be publicly available. The rescue plan database is needed to establish data governance, meaning aligning rescue plan data with data standards and reporting guidelines, and making data usage efficient and accurate, whether that's for visualizations used on portland.gov or publicly available data sets through open data. For example, if you wanted to make a public records request about rescue plan data, you would have to make multiple calls to multiple bureaus and manually consolidate the data. Instead, we will be connecting our database to an open data portal where you can directly connect and explore and or download the data without needing to make a public records request. Next slide, please. The public will be able to see results and download data sets from the open data portal when it's ready and launched later this spring. We'll have a landing page that provides the overall context for rescue plan projects, dashboards showing various visualizations and interactive components. We'll have data stories about impacts in addition to, and not just about spending. We'll have grouped data analyses, project-specific data analyses, and summary analyses that are going to be embedded on the main portland.gov pages. We will also have curated visualizations and stories to provide the context about the impacts of rescue plan on Portland, of the rescue plan on Portland businesses, organizations, communities, and community members. And then in the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about how we're getting to that point to talk about that impact in a very specific way. So we're currently working with community leads to brainstorm data sharing and visualization priorities and create and implement community engagement strategies. Community leads are a group of Portland community leaders working with Smart City PDX to build policies and new processes for centering frontline communities in the city's technology policies and data management practices. So we're asking questions to these leads, and they're taking these questions back into their networks, into their coalitions, into their communities, and saying, what do you want? What is the work that these frontline communities would like to see first from the project reporting data? Can we design additional engagements with communities to inform and or review our initial analyses? And then when it comes to implementing and creating our outreach strategy, we're asking questions about, does this information feel accessible? What questions do communities still have? How can we improve usefulness of information shared? And how can we create and improve a guide on how to use dashboards so that the communities can easily understand and navigate the different tools that we provide? And I'll hand it back to Christine to wrap us up.
Thank you, Vishal. So we've made a lot of progress. We still have a lot of work ahead of us, and we would love to hear any questions or ideas that you might have about this work. So please reach out. Here are our email addresses: christine.kendrick@portlandoregon.gov and Vishal Bakshi@portlandoregon.gov. Thank you for watching.